everyone, and welcome back to the Daggerr Knives channel. My name is Brian, and today we are going to continue our run through our historical series. But first, as always, we have to do a pocket check. So stop the video right now, drop down in the comments, let me know what you are carrying today. For me, it's been kind of a surprise. I've carried this knife so daggone much here recently. This is the Florin. It is one of our ultra budget knives and just an absolute fun, fidgety beast. Super slicey. I have enjoyed every moment I've had with this little guy, and for the price, you just really can't beat it. We have already got to know the Cinquedea, we've gotten to know the Navaja Compact, and the Corso. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Higonokami. So this is our modern interpretation of a true classic, and you guys will see exactly what we're talking about as we dive in for a closer look. Our Higonokami combines historical design with modern technologies. Now this does allow us to keep the price incredibly low at just 40 bucks, and that is without compromising functionality. Now this is achieved using a one-piece folded steel chassis. Now this is a simple, honest, and effective solution to a problem that we faced. Now, despite its construction, we still managed to keep this as a full frame lock design, and we were able to keep the traditional tail front flipper, which is just as the original concept intended, but we also added thumb studs, which do give you that additional means of deployment. Now, this knife does respect the tradition, but it is adapted for modern EDC use. Now, one thing that I have noticed with this knife, just in my use with it, is that it is an exceptional slicer. Being a fairly short hollow ground blade with a decent blade stock, I wasn't expecting it to slice quite as well as it does, just based on geometry. But with it being fairly thin behind the edge, it performs quite well, and we're going to see that here in just a little bit. Plus the overall design of the knife itself, the Higonokami design does allow for a lot of very nice controlled utility cuts, which you having coming in, doing your draw cuts, and then of course getting power in with the addition of those thumb studs there. It gives you a lot of leverage in on the back side of this knife to really push in and get those power cuts done. We do have a built-in over travel stop there on the frame lock, and of course our typical Screaming Skull pocket clip, which you guys know and love. Like I said, it is very much a modern adaptation to a very cool classic design, and that front flipper is just money on this thing. Absolutely fires out of there. Detent's tuned perfectly. Again, a $40 knife with no compromises. Using VG10 steel. You guys can see that there. Every knife is stamped with its date of birth there and the blade steel. Let's go ahead and jump in to see how this thing performs in some real world tasks. Alright guys, now here we are in its natural habitat, the Higonokami, in a habitat of utility work, and that's exactly what we're going to put it through today. We're just going to do some quick utility cuts, starting off with our usual stuff here. We have the standard nylon webbing, just simple stuff, but as you can see, it bears no issues at all. This thing just absolutely destroys anything that I've put it through. I've had no issues with this knife, and then the VG10 steel has held a great edge. This has been used, so I've been really impressed with its performance. Now I do strop the knife up as per usual with most of my knives when I do come home. Especially if they've seen any use, I will strop them up. But with that, you do get a lot of edge retention, and you're able to keep your knives much keener for much longer. And then we just have some 550 paracord here. Very simple slice cuts through here. And we're also going to just do push cuts right through that. No issues there. And then, of course, draw cuts. No issues. I mean, this stuff isn't going to really test a blade too much, but it's very much getting to take a look at how well the edge is holding up. and how well this thing just truly does slice. Now here we have a little bit of a stiffer rope. Now this is a load-bearing rope, but again, it just kind of slices right through it without any real issues at all. I might even be able to push cut through this. Let's see if we can. Pretty much push cutting right through it. No real issues. Again, just a super clean, super easy cut. Now let's see here. Let's go ahead and go into our hoses here. So we'll go ahead and start with our smaller hose. So here we have just some regular fuel hose. And that hollow grind does help with getting through that, getting it started on that initial cut. And then having that fairly good tip down and with a good bit of belly in it as well does allow you to get in there without too much trouble and really cut through that hose. Again, without too much trouble. Time for me to buy some new supplies. And then we've got a little bit thicker hose here. Again, it is a fuel hose. Again, no issues at all. Alright, now let's go ahead and just cut off a piece of this hose here. And again, I think we have, I think it's just a fuel hose as well. Just a little bit of a down and back motion here. You guys can see we got some really, really clean cuts here. Absolutely no issues cutting through the fuel hose. Now I do have a little bit larger hose here, so this is a heater hose, but it is a double-walled hose. But typically the thicker hose, the bigger hose, it is a little more difficult to get through. But that's just simply because of the size of the hose. But again, not having really any issues. My biggest issue right now is just trying to keep the camera steady. So, fantastic job there. Got some zip ties, so we're going to do our typical, just stick the tip in, push down, pops right through those standard zip ties without an issue. And then we have the big boy here. And that really zipped right through that. Pun intended. Alright, I've got some other rope here. We're going to go ahead and grab that really quickly. Now this is always the last thing I like to cut here because this natural cordage is a, I mean, it is a bear on knives. It does, you know, have a lot of friction behind it, and it does actually tear up the edges pretty well. I always drop the knives after using it on this stuff, just because, like I said, it is highly abrasive. But you can see here, I'm not having any real issues cutting through this stuff. Compared to most knives, I mean, it's doing very, very well. So, again, no problems there with the performance of the Higonokami. So, for me, this was no surprise because I have been carrying this knife. But what did you think? Were you surprised by the performance of this little slicing beast? Like I said, for me, the first time I used it, it was a surprise because typically a shorter blade like this does not slice that well. But this thing has impressed me truly. So if you guys are interested in picking one up, hit the description down below for links to where you can find one. Trust me, you won't be sorry. Until next time, stay sharp.